For this experiment, you will need a primary haloalkane. This one is 1-bromobutane. A secondary haloalkane. This one is 2-bromopropane. And a tertiary haloalkane. This is 2-chloro-2-methyl-propane. You will also need some sodium iodide solution in acetone and silver nitrate solution. You will need 6 test tubes in a rack, and those test tubes need to be labeled. We'll be performing 2 tests, one to test for an SN1, one to test for an SN2. Place about 0.2 milliliters of the primary haloalkane into test tubes 1 and 4, and then repeat for the secondary and tertiary haloalkane. We now have 6 test tubes, all with about 0.2 milliliters of haloalkane in them. To the first set of test tubes, we're going to perform a test that probes the presence of a carbocation. We're going to do the SN1 test. Using the silver nitrate solution, we're going to add about a milliliter, perhaps 2, of silver nitrate solution to each of these 3 test tubes. The SN1 goes through a carbocation, which means that there will be free halogen in solution. Silver chloride and silver bromide and silver iodide are all insoluble in water. Next, we're going to add sodium iodide that is dissolved in acetone. This is not sodium iodide in water, this is sodium iodide in acetone. I'm going to add that to test tubes 1, 2, and 3 as a test for the SN2. Sodium iodide is soluble in acetone, but sodium chloride and sodium bromide are not soluble in acetone. So we're going to give these a minute or 2 to develop and see if we can spot anything happening in those test tubes. So at the end of the experiment, in the test for SN1, primaries did not change color. Secondaries and tertiaries did produce precipitate. Because our secondary was a bromoalkane and our tertiary was a chloroalkane, the colors of their precipitates are different. In the SN2 test, we had a precipitate of iodide for the primary, a color change for the secondary, but no visible precipitate, and no result for the tertiary. It's your job to rationalize these observations and complete the lab assignment.